main aim was to go to Sri Lanka on this mission trip to understand why they are in the ministry, why the pastors are in the ministry. So when I was actually pondering and asking questions from them, actually I was like a journalist or maybe like a detective, asking them questions, how, what, why, how did this happen? So it was really interesting. I just felt that God led me to these two chapters regarding those pastors we met. So the first one is Isaiah chapter 61, the good news of salvation. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. So that is the reason I felt actually they are doing their ministry. And the other one is in Romans 10, verse 14. How can then they shall call him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring good tidings of good things. Okay, so I really felt these two chapters have inspired the pastors to speak to people in Sri Lanka. So most of the pastors in Sri Lanka, I have heard their names, but I have not even seen their photos. Some of them I have seen, some of them I have not seen even a photo. So the first thing what I wanted to do is, because GI helps them, I wanted to put a face to the name. And I wanted to see them personally and to understand their journey, why they chose to be pastors. And believe me, when we met them, so Darren, Erin, myself and Ernest, and my sister and her family, so all of us went, and when we saw and heard their testimonies, saw them and heard their testimonies, and saw the places where they were living, and it is really, really a calling from God, otherwise they couldn't do it, because it is really hard. So now when I think about the pastors, most of these pastors actually came from Buddhist or Hindu families. So their background, either they were Buddhist or they were Hindus, but somehow God chose them to be His anointed. That is wonderful. Now when I think about Pastor Lionel and Rushini, so both of them are from Buddhist families. I have shared a little bit of Pastor Lionel's testimony last time. He started drinking when he was 5 years old. Just 5 years old. Just imagine, I'm thinking about Reuben, he will be 3 in few months, and just imagine him getting drunk, him drinking. So he started drinking when he was 5 years old, because his father was alcoholic. He saw the bottle, he went and got the bottle and started drinking. Nobody noticed. And then when he was a teenager, he said when he was 11, 12 years old, maybe he said he tried all type of alcohols he can find in the village. He said thankfully there were no hard drugs during that time in Sri Lanka, so no cocaine, no ice, no things like that, because he said if he could get his hand on them, he would have tried it. So he was a kind of a person that didn't care about anything. He was just walking in the streets like on a kind of a village thug kind of a thing, this teenager. So, but the beauty of God is actually God has marked him, put a mark on him, saying, he is mine, he belongs to me. Actually, if Pastor Patrick didn't call, actually Pastor Patrick was there in Anuradhapura during that time. It's a rural, very staunch Buddhist area. He was just delivering, giving leaflets to people, asking them to come to his house church. And then he saw Lionel, this teenager, like kind of a, not caring, kind of a ugly looking, this gangster kind of a boy. He saw him and he said, son, why don't you come to church this Sunday? So Pastor Lionel said, actually he shared with us, nobody has spoken to him, son, for a long, long time. That touched his heart. And he said, he just thought, I'll just go and see. And that was his turning point. His life was turned around. The beauty is, actually Pastor Patrick didn't stop there. He was a young pastor. He just got married and his wife was expecting during that time. He asked Lionel to come and live with him. And he sent Lionel to the Bible college in Sri Lanka. And then he became a pastor. So see how much of a energy, time he put onto Pastor Lionel. I don't think I can do that. I don't think, I am not that, selfless. I can be really selfish. So they did it. And then, so Pastor Patrick said, your calling is go back to Anuradhapura and touch people just like I touch your life. Do something because there is your calling. So, what Pastor Lionel did was, so he was under the Assemblies of God umbrella. He received 1,500 rupees for a month. So this is maybe in late 80s or maybe early 90s. So 1,500 during that time is equivalent to about $150 a month. That is not enough. So somehow he managed to rent a small house, he and his wife, very small house. Maybe they didn't have electricity, no water, they had to get water from the outside well. So what they did was same thing, just like Pastor Patrick. They had leaflets in their hands. They started walking on the streets, asking people, we have a service, would you like to come? We can pray for you. Are you having any sickness? We can pray for you. And they went door knocking. And when they went door knocking, people cursed them. People just threw them out. People said, no, we don't want to hear it. Some people, they got the leaflet, crunched it and just threw it. So they did it faithfully for 2 years without one believer. So at the end of the 2 years, Pastor Lionel felt, I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. And he was really tired physically because they were walking 5 days a week. And then their allowance after 6 months, it became 750 rupees. So it became half. And then in the meantime, they had a baby. So what are they supposed to do? Now they have to pay the rent. Now he's supposed to be a full-time pastor. And the church is paying him 700 rupees. They have a baby. What are they supposed to do? They didn't have enough money to eat. So Roshini was breastfeeding the baby. And what they did was actually, they didn't have enough money to buy rice, even bread. So what they did was actually in Sri Lankan rural areas, the land is quite big. And there are a lot of trees, fruit trees, and I don't know whether you have heard about the jackfruits. Jackfruit, and there is another fruit called a breadfruit. So you can actually, these are not fruits, these are kind of a vegetable thing. You can actually eat it, you can make curries in different ways. So you can eat it and actually it fills you. So they were eating this jackfruit in the morning, jackfruit in the afternoon, jackfruit in the night. And Pastor Lionel said at one point he even couldn't look at the jackfruit. He said it was so, he said it was overwhelming to look at the jackfruit, right? And then breadfruit, and then there were other fruits. So they were doing that, and in the meantime, they said, they could buy only Maggi noodles. Just imagine giving a little baby Maggi noodles. Will we do that? No. So they had only money to buy a few packets of Maggi noodles for the child. They didn't have money to even buy milk. Just imagine that life. So Pastor Lionel called Pastor Patrick. Said, Pastor Patrick, I don't think I can go do this anymore. I don't think my calling is here. I think God has called me to go somewhere else, do something else. So Pastor Patrick listened to what Pastor Lionel was saying. He was like virtually crying. I can't do this anymore. But Pastor Patrick said, look here, Lionel. God has called you to be in Anuradhapura. So you have to be there. You have to be there. You have to win souls for God there, not anywhere else. Because I have this strong feeling when I asked you to go there that God wanted you to be planted there, nowhere else. So Lionel said, okay, I'll give another year. I'll give another year. So Pastor Patrick actually prayed and he encouraged Lionel. He said, if there is anything you need, I'll try to help you in whatever way I can. So Pastor Lionel said, okay. And then he said, they said they don't have to fast because they were almost fasting because they didn't have much to eat. So they prayed. They went to the Lord and they said, Lord, we want something. Just imagine, he's a pastor, right? According to the Assemblies of God, he has the credentials and he has to go for meetings to Colombo. And just imagine saying, I don't have one person in my church. There's no one, not a believer, for 2 years. So then they started praying and asking the Holy Spirit to lead them to the places that they have to go. So one day they went door knocking, knock on a door. And a lady opened a door, seemed to be a Muslim lady. And so they said, I'm Pastor Lionel, this is my wife Roshini. We have a house church. This is our address. Would you like to come to church? There was no church building. Remember, there's no church building. There's a little house. Okay, 1-bedroom house with a little living room. That's all they had. So this lady looked at them and she said, oh, I have heard of Jesus. Remember, this is a Muslim lady. I have heard of Jesus. Would you like to pray for me? So Pastor Lionel said his heart jumped out with joy. Okay, at least one response. He asked, what can we pray for? She said, we were trying to have children for a long time, and we don't have children. I would love to have a child. So Pastor Lionel and Roshini, they knelt down and actually they prayed for this woman. And lo and behold, God answered. She became pregnant. And according to Pastor Lionel, she was like the Samaritan woman near the well who met Jesus. She started telling the story about Jesus. Thank you. To Jesus, about Jesus, what Jesus has done to her, to every person in the village. And the villagers knew her. Villagers knew she was a Muslim, and villagers knew that she didn't have children, and villagers knew she was desperately wanting to have a child. And now actually they have 3 daughters. So 3 daughters, that was Pastor Lionel's first convert. And then what happened was, actually, then what they did was actually, now Rosemary is the evangelist. Her name is Rosemary. She's the evangelist. She started going and talking to people about Jesus. So what they did was actually, they started training Rosemary. Training Rosemary, telling her about the love of God, sharing the gospel with her. Actually, in these villages, some of the people they can't read or they can't write, some of the older people. So you have to be like Jesus. You have to tell them about him like in stories. Like how Jesus taught them in parables. So they started telling people about Jesus in stories where they can understand. So one by one, villagers started coming to church. And God was showing up in that little house church. There were miracles, signs and wonders, healing, lot of things started to happen. So, from one house church, they went to a second one. They went to the third one. They went to the fourth one. Now they have 5 house churches in Anuradhapura. And they, all together, I think there are about nearly 200 people, isn't it? Yeah, about 200 people in the house church. All the house churches, there are about 200 people. So that was one testimony, and there are a lot of testimonies inside every house church. The other one was actually Roshini, Pastor Lionel's wife, reached to me recently. She said she wanted to do something for women in the prison. Okay, so I asked, what do you want from us? So she said, okay, now you know that Sri Lanka is in economical crisis still. Now government is not providing essential items to the inmates. So essential items, toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap, sanitary pads. So they need them. So since there is 8th of March, it was the International Women's Day, she said, I got an opportunity to go to the prison. Can you help me to buy these essential items? So you know that we have a Sri Lankan fund in the church, so it is about $190. So I asked Pastor Mia, so she approved it. So we sent the money. So what happened was, I called her and I asked her, why do you want to go to the prison? Why prison ministry? And then she shared the story. She said, in 1972, her father was an agricultural officer. So he was in charge of this agricultural center, I think in Kandy, and he was in charge of all the equipments in this agricultural center. So then he was working there. In 1976, all of a sudden there was a huge cyclone, tropical cyclone in Sri Lanka, in that area. What happened was there was such a devastation. Most of the roofs, were blown away. The trees actually, trees fell to the roads, and some people got injured, some people were killed. And what happened was, this the agricultural center building roof, actually it's blown away to this wind. Wind was very, very, it was about, I think, 150 kilometers to 200 kilometers, strong. So what happened was, everybody ran out of the building. They were scared of their lives. They ran out of the building. And the aftermath of that was so scary. What happened was, people looted the building. They came to the building, the villagers, they came to the building, robbed every item that they can put their hands on. Now what happened? Roshini's father was in charge of these items. And government said, you are responsible. And they put him to prison. So now this man has to prove his innocence, but before proving his innocence, he was in jail. So in jail, what happened was, he was treated brutally. He was not given food because they wanted to, the government wanted to see whether he had any involvement in duty, whether he has helped anyone to get these equipments out. So he was beaten until he was bloody, his face was bloody, he was beaten like that. And he was not given food. He was treated so badly. By the time he came out, he proved his innocence, and by the time he was released, he was completely a broken man. He didn't trust anyone, he couldn't hold a job. So Roshini said, their life, his family life, their life completely changed. Not to the better, but to worse. So she said that wounded her spirit a lot. And she said, so she said she was about 3 or 4 years old when her father went to the prison. And she said, from that young age, I really wanted to do something inside the prison. So then she said, one day I said, Lord, give me opportunity. Because remember, Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country. They don't allow, especially Christians, to go inside the prison. Catholics, they don't mind because they don't evangelize. Catholics, they don't evangelize. But Christians, they go and evangelize. So they don't allow Christians to go inside the prison. So she prayed and said, God, give me an opportunity. I really wanted to do that. So somehow, when she was praying, somehow she heard about a thing called Christian Fellowship of Prison Ministry or something like that. So she found the address, she wrote them a letter or an email or called them and said, I would like to get some training. I would like to be in the prison ministry. So they said, okay, if you have some of the women in your church, bring them, we'll give you a training. So they had a workshop. They gave them all the training that they needed. So this Roshini, Pastor Lionel, and another couple, they wanted to go to the prison on the 8th of March, so last week. So what happened was actually, they went and they have to wait until, so they can't take anything inside the prison. They have to leave their bags, mobile phones, everything. Before they went inside, they left everything and walked inside. So they had to wait in a visiting area. She said there were 3 chairs or something like that. But the prison staff was very friendly with them. So, so they got to know there are 2 nuns coming every month for the Roman Catholic prisoners. So they'll come and either pray or give communion or I don't know what they do. So they do something only for the Roman Catholic prisoners. And when they were there was a Buddhist nun preaching to the prisoners. So they can hear her talking because there was a little hall and there was a where visitors sat. So she heard this Buddhist nun was telling them what the sins that they have done. Because it's a crime to, I don't know, some of them were murderers, could be, I don't know. Some of them thieves, I don't know, something they have done. So she was saying, because of your sin, you are destined to hell. There is no other place for you, you are going to hell. And she was describing the hell for them. Right? This is the way you are going to be in the hell. You are going to be tortured. Your nails will be blue. They will hit you. They will torture you. So it was all doom and gloom. So actually I went and Google to see what is a Buddhist hell like. So because I wanted to know, right? According to what I read was, Buddhist hell is a place that you go through torture, torment, horrible, grotesque things that you can't even imagine. So you go through physically, mentally, spiritually, until, I think just like Catholics, purgatory. So you have to be purged out of your sin. And then you can be born again. Born again means a rebirth in like an ant or bird, whatever it is. Or you can have your enlightenment. So to get this, but they can't say how long, they can't say the length of the suffering. You have to go through this suffering. So people will think, okay, at least we can go through the suffering and we can see the enlightenment. So it doesn't matter, we can see. But Roshini said, so they were looking at each other and they were thinking, what is this? What are these people saying to these prisoners? So then somehow, before Roshini and her team went inside, the prisoners have to go back to their cells, and staff decorated the hall. The hall was decorated with balloons and everything. And they asked Roshini and the team to go in, and the prisoners came. And so the other couple went with them. The man had a guitar with him. So when the Roshini said, when the prisoners came out, the women came out, their face was like kind of hopelessness, and there was gloom in their face. And when they saw the balloons and when they saw the guitar, she felt that little smile came to their face. And then what they did was, they started singing praise and worship songs. They were singing and praising God. And then actually, actually Roshini said she felt there was some sort of a darkness, sort of a heaviness in the atmosphere. When they started singing, something lifted up. And then actually Roshini got onto the stage. She preached the story of the woman caught in adultery and how Jesus forgave her. So that was her story. When she was telling the story, she saw some women crying. And then she shared her testimony. And then she shared her testimony, and she asked the prison staff, is there a possibility that we can pray for them? They said yes. So this is a miracle. In prisons, according to Sri Lankan law, you can't touch a prisoner. But they were allowed to lay their hands and pray for these women. Most of the women started crying. So she said there were young girls, maybe teenagers, 17, 18, 19. Young girls, 20s, in their early 20s. Middle-aged women, older women. Some of them were sentenced to life. So they were wearing white clothes, others were wearing normal clothing. And then she said there was a little boy with his mother, 1 year and about 1.5 years old baby in the prison. So they prayed for them, and then they blessed them, and then they came out. They spent about 2.5 hours with these inmates. So she said it was such a good time. And before they left, actually, the person in charge of the prison wanted to talk to them. And he asked Roshini, can you do something for these women? Because these women, from morning until night, they just sit in their cells doing nothing. There is no newspaper to read, there is not a library, I don't know whether there is a television, there is nothing for them, and the government provides bare minimal for them. Because the reason is, government wants them to suffer in the prison so that they will not come back. So that is the philosophy behind it. She said like, it is like, so she asked, can you please do something, at least like, hairdressing, beauty culture, like sewing, something. Is there a possibility for you all to come and train these women? Because when they go back, they have to have something to fall back to. They don't have anything. Government is not giving us money to do anything. We are helpless. We want to do something, but we can't. So Roshini said, okay, what you can do is, can you please send this request to me in writing, and we will see what we can do. So actually, like, now they are in touch with the prison, and they really wanted to know how they can help. So she said, in Sri Lankan prison, there is a written law. If you go to the prison as a Buddhist, you have to come out as a Buddhist. So there is no conversions inside the prison. You can't convert them. And you can't ask the inmate, what is your crime? How long you're here? You can't talk to them regarding their personal life. You can't exchange phone numbers. You can't ask their address. You can't do anything. So only you can meet them. So Roshini said she has done a counseling course. She said, I can counsel them. So she has given them the things that she can do, because she said in one of the house churches there is a young man who is a hairdresser. So she said, I can use that man to teach them. So she's already planning what they can do next. So the main thing is actually they wanted to show the love of God, love of Christ to these inmates, these women who were like, isolated and nobody cares for them. So they wanted to show God has not forgotten you. God loves you. And then the other thing, actually, I was asking Roshini, okay, now can you please tell me a little bit about your house churches? How do you do this? She said, okay, what we do is, actually we give a 3-minute testimony. I asked, 3 minutes? Whose testimony? What testimony? She said, I give my testimony. I said, okay, think I am a Buddhist. You're going to convert me. Can you please give me your testimony in 3 minutes? She said, sure. And she started her testimony. Okay. She said, actually, when I was young, Now, can you remember that her father was in prison, and when he came out, he was a broken man, he couldn't do much. So, she said, when I was young, I wanted to study. I wanted to become someone. But there was nobody to guide me. There was nobody to help me. There was nobody to ask for any guidance. I felt hopeless. I felt, what's the use of my life? She even contemplating, thinking, is a suicide option? Even she was thinking, she was a young girl, maybe 17, 18 years old girl. So she was very, very down about what's going to happen to her in the future. And what she did was like, so when she was like that, one day, one of her aunts, like she was going somewhere, and she met one of her aunts. So they exchanged greetings and asked, oh, how are you doing and everything. So this aunt looked at Roshini and said, you look really sad. Why? So Roshini said, I don't know, I feel hopeless. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. I love to learn. I love to go to the university, do something. But there's nobody to help me. She looked at her and said, you know, someone can help you. So Roshini asked, who? How? She said, I'm going to a church. Would you like to come with me? Roshini thought, what the heck? I'll go. So she went with her aunt. And actually, she met Jesus. And she said her life completely changed upside down. And then she said, God gave her hope. Jesus gave her a new meaning to her life. And she told me, look at my family. I have a hope. I have done a diploma in counseling. She had so many diplomas, done a lot of things. And she said, I am helping people. I'm helping people. I have 2 sons, and both of them are studying well. I have a family. I have a husband. I live well. That is my testimony. When I came to God, He changed me completely new. And He gave me a hope and a future. So, what do you think? She asked me. I said, pretty good. I might come. I might come to your church. So then she said, if anybody can, people can find fault, but can they prove that I am wrong? Because I am a living proof that God touched me. He changed me. So that is my testimony. That is how we go and talk to them. So sometimes, then she said, and when they go to the villages, these little villages, they find a man of peace. And I said, who? She said, man of peace. I asked, can you please describe who is this man of peace? She said, when they go and talk to a person, they will listen. Yeah, okay. And they will ask questions. And they will say, okay, I'd like to know more. That is a man of peace. Right? So they say, so then what they do is, actually they'll ask, can we come to your house and pray with you? And most of the time they say yes. So they go to the house, pray with them, and then she said, almost every time, God do a miracle in that house. So they are very excited. Something happened. Because they go to idols, they worship idols. All the Buddhists go to, idol. They are idol worshippers, and they know those idols can't see, can't hear, can't do anything for them. So they know this is a living God, and they come. So like that, they will form a cell group. From the cell group, when the cell group is growing, so now actually every person is talking to someone else. So when the cell group is going, they will make it a house church. When the house church come to minimum of 15 families, they divide the house church into 2. So likewise, so they are planting house churches. So they are planning in 2030 at least to have 15 house churches or more. Because they said that there are little villages, like suburbs, 86 suburbs in that area. So they wanted to, she said, if God willing, we wanted to touch every suburb in a lifetime for God. So that is their testimony. And then, okay, can I Okay, so the other one is about Rosie. Now, Rosie and Pastor Patrick. So Pastor Patrick, you know that Pastor Patrick and Rosie, they have this apostolic center. They have rented this place. It's a beautiful place. So their mission in this apostolic center is actually, they do a lot. Okay, so what they are planning to do is, the first one is actually train and send to serve. So what they are doing is, they train people and send to serve. Then they will teach them how to manage a cell group or a house church, practical knowledge. And then they'll teach them how to resolve a conflict resolution. Send the disciples once a month to the church in a rural area. So when they come to get the discipleship, what they do is, actually they send 2 of them into a rural church. Say for example, one of Pastor Lionel's church, house churches, right? So they go and they see what are these house church leaders are doing, how they prepare for the service, how they treat the people, how they greet the people, how they prepare for the sermon. So they learn things. They go, observe and learn, and then they come back. So they usually spend about 2 days with the pastors. And the other one is, actually they want to provide counseling. And the main thing is, most of the time, Sri Lankan pastors, they don't have a place to go when they are worn out. There's no place to go. They don't have money, there is no place to go. So Pastor Patrick said, Pastor Patrick's and Rosie's aim is to provide a place for these pastors to come and rest, come and pray, read the Bible. If you want, bring your family. And they are not going to charge anything at the moment. So they say, we'll try our best to provide them free accommodation, but if we can't, we have to charge a minimal amount from them, and then they are going to house them and help them to be there. So the other thing what they do is, every Saturday, they get together. All the house churches leaders, cell leaders, they get together. They share their experiences during the week. And they pray. And they encourage each other. They pray for each other. So every Saturday they do that. And every Sunday, every house church leader have to have a Sunday service in wherever they are. And the other thing is, actually, now they teach them how to have faith in God. So one of the house church leaders, he had more than 50 people in his church. So he said, I can't do it in a house anymore. I have to get a hall, rent a hall. Now, how much they have to pay to rent a hall for 1 day? For a month, they have to pay 40,000 rupees. So 40,000 rupees is a bigger amount for Sri Lankans. So from the money that we send, he has given this pastor 15,000 rupees. Right? So 15,000, so he has to find 25,000 rupees. So he said, the rest, you have to trust God and He will provide. And what happened? So they prayed. Pastors, wife, and the congregation, they prayed. Lord, we need this place, so you need to provide. And actually, they received the money. Somehow, if the money comes from the offering, people either give tithes, or from somewhere, that money comes. So always, this pastor has started the church in January. So all January, February, March, he had the rent. So he could pay the rent. So they teach them how to have faith in the Lord. So that is another thing. And the other one is about Rosie. Rosie's ministry has expanded. So I asked Rosie recently, Rosie, now I'm sending you this second-hand clothing and some food items and some crayons, color pencils and stuff like that. Is it worthwhile I'm sending this? Because last time I spent about $700. So I thought can I give this $700 to you rather than me sending it to you? She said, no, Christine, please send. Because she said, I have started my ministry with it. So what she has done was, she has gone to all her neighbors with a gift. Maybe a packet of noodles, maybe a packet of soup, a box of crayon, a box of pencils. So she has gone and she has sat with them and she has spoken to them about Jesus. So there are two testimonies I want to share. Pastor Mia has a lady called Lara, right? Lara. So Lara has given Pastor Mia a lot of little boys' clothing. So Pastor Mia asked me, "Do you need this?" I said, "Yes, please. I'll take it." So last time when I sent it to Sri Lanka, they received it in December. So Rosie has a three-wheeler driver. So she goes from her house to the apostolic center using this three-wheeler. So a three-wheeler driver and Rosie, they have become friends. So Rosie talks to her about God. He listens. So one day he told her that his wife recently had a baby boy. Rosie all of a sudden remembered, "Oh, I have some clothing with me." So she asked him, "I have some second-hand clothing, but they are like brand new. Would you mind if I bring something and come to see your wife and the baby?" He was so thrilled. He said, "Yes, please come." So Rosie took this baby clothing and went to visit the baby and the mother. And the mother was so touched by that. So mother said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." So they have called Rosie Miss. "Thank you, Miss, thank you so much." And then Rosie asked, "Okay, can I pray for you?" They said, "Yes." So she prayed for them. And then, so this happened like, every week they are asking Rosie to come and pray with them and to share about Jesus. And then they said, "We are ready to go to a church now." So Rosie has, there is a new, can you remember that I told you, a new person has started a house church and he's now having a hall building. So Rosie has directed this family to that church. The other one was, now Rosie is going for shopping to the supermarket. So, and she wanted to buy some items and she could not find it. So she was going this way, that way, she could not find it. And she saw a young woman there. She went to her and asked her, "I want to buy these things, I can't find it, can you please show me?" This young woman came with her, went to the aisles with her, got the items for her, gave the items for her, and she said, "I'll carry your bag," and carried Rosie's shopping bag. And then she took her to the cashier and unloaded everything to her, to the thing for cashier to, so Rosie could pay and finish it. So Rosie was really touched by it. Rosie said, "Thank you so much, you're so kind," and she complimented the girl. And Rosie said, when I complimented her, her face lit like a bulb. So then Rosie thought, okay, Rosie started praying for this girl when in her prayers. And then next time when she went to the supermarket, she got a little purse. Most probably it could be yours, one of yours. Because I can remember Sarah gave a lot of wallets. So I sent everything, so it could be one of Sarah's. So she took it and she went to this girl and she said, "You have been so kind and I want to give this little gift to you. This is not a new one, but it looks almost new." So, and the girl was so happy. So she has gone and she has spoken about this kind lady to her mother. So mother wanted to see Rosie. So Rosie said, "Okay, I'll come." Rosie went there and Rosie spoke to them and Rosie prayed with them. And then next time, then again the mother asked, "Can you come again?" So Rosie asked, "Do you have any friends?" She said, "Yes. Ask your friends also to come." So friends came to their house and then this family started coming to the church. They also was ready to come to church. So that's how they are doing their ministry in Sri Lanka. One at a time, one person at a time, kind word. I'm thinking, am I bold enough to talk to people, door knocking? Will I do that? I don't know. But we have to ask that grace from God. The last one is about Pastor Sriani. Pastor Sriani is also a pastor. She said recently, God has opened a door for a ministry with police, Sri Lankan police. So I thought, very interesting. So she called me on the 7th. She said, "Sister, I have one office, I have a small office. They are doing a little business in one of the cities in close to Colombo." She said, "We have only one office room. And God wanted me to use that office room to have prayer meetings for police. Can you please pray with me?" So I said, okay, and I prayed with her. Her desire is to touch the Sri Lankan police. Because she said a lot of police come to their shop to buy things. Because she has a snack bar, her husband has a mobile phone repair shop. So if something happens to their mobile phones, the police come there. And if police want to buy a snack, they come to Sriani. And if they have a problem, they come to Sriani. So Sriani said, I have prayed for them, and a lot of things, miracles have taken place. And actually, Sriani, God has given the gift of knowledge, word of knowledge to her. She look at a person, and she will talk to him about his past, present, and they know that whatever she's telling is true. So she thought, no, I'm just telling them, and I'm just praying for them. I want to do something new. I want to bring them to the Lord. So she has started this prayer meeting. She's planning to do it every week. So we have a lot of things happening in the Sri Lanka. The ministry actually we are helping. So I'm asking you, if you have a heart for these people, for Sriani and her husband, Pastor Patrick and Rosie, Pastor Lionel and his wife, they are doing a lot. And they are really, really laboring for the Lord. It is easy for us in Australia, but it is very, very difficult in Sri Lanka. But still, they are doing it. So I ask you to keep them in prayer. If I have anything, any kind of a mission, I'll come and let you know. I'll keep you updated. If you want to help in any way, you are most welcome to do that. So hope that you enjoy. God bless you.